This is Andre Younan from Teamwayfinder, and today we're interviewing Kira Buckland, the voice of Mary from Skullgirls, Hydra Bell from Blood Lad, and the popular anime series Magi the Labyrinth of Magic.
Ren-ne.
So, Kira, it's an honor to have you on the show.
Yay, I'm glad to be interviewed.
All right, let's get started. So, Kira, how did you get into voice acting?
I started when I was 16. I started doing it as a hobby because I heard voice acting. I played video games, I watched mostly anime and things like that. And I was like, oh man, I want to be like one of those people who do the voices or whatever. And I didn't realize that there were like online sites where people could do it as a hobby. And somebody I knew told me about that, I think it was the VAA she told me about, and said, you can like audition for things and be in like flash movies and stuff like that. And so I thought that was really cool. And, I got my recording equipment and just tried to audition for things. And I really was not that good when I first started. But then later I took some acting classes, things like that, just kind of practiced a lot. And after doing it online for a while, I eventually tried out for a competition called AX Idol, which isn't going anymore, but it was like back in 2007. And I ended up winning that. And then that's kind of like what got my foot in the door. I still did a lot of my own preparation and training and stuff like that. And then that just kind of got me like my first connection in the industry, I guess you could say.
Awesome. So, from all the different medias that you've voice acted in, from video games to anime and to cartoon, which was your most favorite media to voice act in?
Well, I like everything. I think, hmm, I don't know, like probably video games if I had to choose because I am a competitive gamer. My biggest dream in voice acting actually is to be a playable character in a fighting game. So I don't know, that's just something that I would love to do someday. I was a character in Skullgirls, but you can't play as her, which makes me super sad because I would love for her to be playable.
The heck, she's the final boss. That's pretty kick ass.
Yeah, that was really neat. I just like hearing people rage at her. Like, there's YouTube videos where people try to fight her. Like, this one guy was trying to fight her like 17 times, and he was just like screaming and yelling. It was pretty great.
Awesome. So, how was it like recording for Magi the Labyrinth of Magic, since it was like one of those grand adventure kind of animes with so many different characters and character development and etc.?
Well, I had kind of an interesting story about that one because they were doing like open audition sort of thing for like minor roles in it in last year's AX. And I mean, obviously, I couldn't enter because I already worked in the industry, but I had some friends who entered, so I went to go watch them, and they had a poster outside the booth with like all the characters from the show. And I saw a picture of Kogyoku, and I was like, oh man, I really want to voice this character. Like, I was hoping I'd get a chance because I knew they weren't bringing in all new people to do the show. It was just for like some of the other characters. And later I was having lunch and coffee with one of my friends, and she had recorded like an incidental character in Magi, and she showed me a picture and was like, I really think you should be this character. I'm like, yeah, I saw her. I really want to be her, but who knows if I'll get to like audition or whatever, because it's kind of random what auditions you get for the most part. And then um I just got an email like I don't know, maybe a month later from the casting director. It's like, "Hi, you've been automatically cast as Ren Kogyoku." And I was like, "Yes, this was the character I wanted." So,
Awesome.
like I didn't know how to try
Yes.
out for her. That's like the coolest feeling.
So, from all the different characters you've played as, from Ren to Hydra Bell from Blood Lad, and even the up and coming game Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, you got cast as Hiyoko Saionji. Who was your favorite character to play as?
Um, let's see. Probably like it's hard to choose. Hydra Bell was a really fun one because her personality was just so much fun to act, and I felt like I could really get into character easily and make the performance like, just came like sometimes when you're playing a character that you're not that familiar with, you have to kind of analyze it and think about, oh, how would you say the line in this situation, that sort of thing. But with Hydra Bell, it was like I just got to go in and play and have fun, and I don't know. It was like that was another character that when I sent auditions for her, I was like, oh man, I really want this character, but you can't get your hopes up kind of thing because all the time I audition for stuff I don't book. So it's like oh, I got Hydra Bell. I was so happy, and it was just such a fun experience. And Sayonji was the other one that I was really, really excited about because I'm a fan of Danganronpa. Like I had followed stuff with the game on Tumblr and the Let's Plays and this and that when it first came out, and when I knew they were doing the first game, I was like, oh man, I really hope I can be in it. And then I didn't get like auditions or bookings or anything for that. And I was kind of bummed because it's like, oh man, I really wanted to be in Danganronpa. And everyone's like, well, there's the second game. And so I was just kind of like keeping that in mind. And then they're like, hey, we've decided to cast you as Hiyoko Sayonji. Like it was another automatically cast thing. And I was so excited.
So, do you have any funny stories behind the booth?
Um, Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Well, actually, there was kind of a cool. I'm kind of like a huge nerd, so sometimes my friends refer to it as like containing your power level. And sometimes when I'm in a session and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool thing, I just want to like be like, oh yeah, but I have to try to remain composed and whatnot. But there is this one moment because Bloodlad has a lot of references to other things.
Oh
And
yeah, I just finished watching that series. It's like a giant reference. It's
yeah.
awesome.
And there's this one scene where, because we hear the preview of the line in Japanese before we record it in English, so we can kind of hear what the original actor did and stuff like that. And there was this one line, and I'm not positive it was a reference, but I'm pretty sure. And Belle, like in the English version, the line was just like, "You're wasting your time" or whatever. So I didn't think anything of it when I saw it. And then I heard the Japanese preview, and she says, "Muda muda." And bonus points to you if you can figure out why. I was like, ugh.
Yes, JoJo. Yeah.
And the director's like, "Wow, you seem pretty excited about this line." I was like, "Oh, it's yeah." In the Japanese, she made a reference to my favorite series.
Do you have any tips for any up and coming voice actors?
Yeah, I always give the same advice, and it's just like learning to act, which seems like, oh, well, yeah, that's common sense. But learning to act is so important because a lot of people think that getting into voiceover and doing voiceover is just about how many voices you can do, or whether you have a good voice or a funny voice, or you can sound like an anime character, whatever. And I mean, it's like vocal range is definitely part of it, and it's good to develop that, but the most important thing is going to be whether or not you can sell the character. Like whether or not you can make the character believable, make it somebody the audience relates to. Um, there's a reason, like if you think about like your favorite voice actors and your favorite performances, it may be partially, oh, their voice sounds cool, but it's more like they made those characters like seem real and somebody that you could identify with and love, that sort of thing.
So, has there been any inspiring voice actors you looked towards or studied when you were trying to become a voice actor to try to formulate your own acting style or trying to learn off of to better improve your own acting?
Oh, all the time. Pretty much one of the things I feel like when you're a voice actor, you never stop observing. Like if you watch a cartoon or a show or you play a game that has really good voice acting, you kind of listen and you see like, okay, like what did this actor do that makes this performance so good? Or you kind of take like inspiration from it and that sort of thing. One of my inspirations that I drew on for Hydra Bell was Kari Walgren's performance as Haruko in Fooly Cooly, which is like, besides JoJo's, that's like my favorite series. And I don't know, I just kind of like, that was my starting point when I did the audition. And then I was able to, of course, like grow into it and make the character my own. But I guess you could say like that was kind of the inspiration behind the voice. And I used to be really into watching My Little Pony, and so I learned a lot from watching that too because they have a really talented cast on there. Um, just like a lot of games that I played early on and shows that I watched and stuff. I used to be like when I was like 17, I was a huge fan of Inuyasha, and Monica Story was like my idol. And I don't even think she voice acts anymore. I think she like retired from voice acting, but I remember being like, man, I wish I had her voice. I wish I like sounded exactly like her. And then of course, as I got older, I kind of realized that the things that make your voice unique, like it's cool to have a unique voice. But at the time, I was just like, man, I want this person's voice and this person's voice.
So, it was an honor to have you on the show. Do you have any final thoughts?
My cat just crashed into the window, so I guess that was my final thought. But yeah, if you heard that, I don't know if you heard that loud noise. No, he crashes into everything.
Oh, I hope the cat's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it was an honor to have you on the show.
Yeah, and I'll be walking around at Anime Expo dressed as Jolene for most of the time, so if anyone
All
wants to come
right.
see me, come say hi.
All right, sweet. So, yep, it was great. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.